What a difference a week makes. Wales under-20s beating Ireland in Newport, and Wales giving Ireland an almighty scare in Cardiff. We look back on a weekend where pride and hope was restored in Welsh rugby. Plus, we look ahead to the return of the URC. So without further ado, let's get into it. Hello and welcome to this week's edition of the Rap Podcast. I'm Jamie and joining me this week is Harley and Nick. Good evening, gents.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Now, Lee can't be with us this week, but he has pre-recorded his thoughts on the Wales versus Ireland game and he's going to give his URC predictions, so you'll be able to hear that throughout the pod. Right, let's get straight into it. There's a lot to get through. Let's go and start with News Desk. If you're an Ospreys fan, you're going to love News Desk this week. It's very Ospreys heavy. So, first of all, Owen Watkin, he signed a new contract to remain with the Ospreys. 43 cap Welsh international has followed in the footsteps of Chap Morgan, Darrell and Gareth Thomas in putting pen to paper on a new Ospreys deal. And then big news that broke today on Monday. Ospreys has signed Fijian centre. I can never get this guy's name right. Wasea Naya Sayavalu, is it? I'm sorry if I've butchered that. I can never get it. Naya Salevu. I can never get his name right. As injury cover for Owen Watkin. So the 34-year-old has played just 21 minutes for Sale since he's returned from international duty in the Autumn Nations Series. So it seems that Sale are happy for him to leave. It is a short-term signing. He's only going to be at the Ospreys to the end of the season, as he's already signed a deal with Nice for 2 years, which I believe Owen Williams has also signed a deal with. So that'll be quite interesting. Teammates at Ospreys and then teammates for their new club. Nick, I want to get your thoughts on that. So obviously Watkin re-signing and then that signing of the Fijian captain.
Well, both very good on paper. Obviously, delighted Owen's staying there. I think he's had a very good year. Unfortunately, he's had an injury, probably, certainly a season-ending injury, and might well take him into, he might still be out beginning next season as well. We've identified that, Ospreys fans as an area that needs strengthening centre. So hopefully they've got plans then for something else post May, whatever, when we finish for the season. But as a short-term signing with his experience, and if he can get anywhere near the level of performances he puts in for Fiji, even in the autumn, he's going to be a very good signing.
Yeah, I'm excited to see him in the URC actually.
Yeah.
I think he'll do very well. I've seen a few salty comments from Sale fans. Well, I don't know if it's salt or not, but they're basically saying things like, well, he never played for us, and when he did play for us, he wasn't very good, that sort of thing. I saw a Sale fan say he was the most underwhelming signing they've ever made, but it doesn't make sense why he hasn't done well up there. Obviously, injuries have played a part, but he should make an impact for the Ospreys, shouldn't he? Just having his experience, his bulk, he's got a good offloading game. Yeah. He should be a hit, really, shouldn't he?
Well, and we're trying to play more rugby with Mark Jones as our coach as well. So, we're trying to use that outside centres channel to make breaks. So, given what his ability, you would hope that he would fit into that type of game plan.
Yeah. And Ospreys have been linked with Ross Moriarty as well, which is quite interesting. How would you feel about that one, Nick? Another Moriarty running out to St. Helens. There's something quite full circle about that.
There's a lot of history there with that family in that ground. It depends how much we have to pay for him. I don't think any Osprey fan would think that, back row, even though with Tips retiring, is an area we're particularly weak in. He would obviously bring a lot of experience, and he always gives 100%, doesn't he? I know he's been injured, but he's picked up a nasty injury. But he from all accounts, he's done very well with Breathe, and given as we've alluded to 100% every time. So yeah, we'll see. And of course, he started off as a 6, really, didn't he? He moved more recently to 8. So he offers some ability to play across the back row. So yeah, we'll see where that goes. I wouldn't be bothered if he signs us, but I wouldn't be bothered if he signs somebody else either.
He has played a few games at 7 for Breathe as well, I've noticed.
Right.
So
okay.
He can play across the back row, as you mentioned.
I think that's more of a nuance of France. They play left and right more than 6 and 7. Oh, that's so I wouldn't read
It's
too
just
much
something I've
into that.
noticed. No, I know. It's just something
Bit
I've
like
noticed
Chunza
on it.
playing 7 for Exeter. He's not playing 7. He's just wearing 7.
Yeah.
But playing as a blindside.
Yeah.
Of course. Okay, so that's the Ospreys signings news done. More Ospreys news then. So congratulations to the Ospreys under-18s who beat Cardiff to win the Regional Academy Championship final at a very wet Cardiff Arms Park. Cardiff were 19-5 up at one point, but the Ospreys, they stormed back and they won 25-28. Good news then for the Ospreys. Scarlets, they claimed third place by beating Dragons 38-8. Do you remember when we thought the Scarlets were going to storm their way to the title and they looked unbeatable? They were putting 50 pointers on pretty much all our teams except RGC, wasn't it? But no, it's the Ospreys that came out on top. So good news, Nick, isn't it?
Yeah, it's very good news. And I think sometimes with this sort of age group, yes, it's great to win and get the result, but it's about developing players as well. And I think you need to take a little bit of a bigger picture. Obviously for the boys involved and the coaches, it's great, to have to celebrate at the end of a period where they've worked very hard, no doubt. But it is more about player development for all our teams.
Yeah, quite right.
Absolutely. And it's nice to know that the Cardiff team are fully embedded in the Cardiff way. Rushing off to head and messing up at the end.
Cardiff tradition then. Okay, so moving on. Another story that's emerged in Rugby Pass today. Big news. Michael Checker is now the clear favourite to become the next Wales coach when his contract with Leicester Tigers runs out at the end of the season. So if you remember, there was reports that Checker was spotted having lunch with Rugby Australia boss Phil Waugh at a Sydney restaurant last week. So there was a lot of speculation that maybe he was interested in taking the Australia job, which was his old job, of course, going back. But apparently Les Kiss, who's currently in charge with the Queensland Reds, he's now the clear favourite to replace Joe Schmidt. The article also mentions Franco Smith. So he has $500,000 compensation clause in his Glasgow Warriors contract, which runs out until the end of next season. So that could prove a bit of a sticking point. But how do we feel about this news then? So it now appears, if it's true, of course, that Checker is the clear favourite. When I posted this news from our X account, 99.9% of the replies we had were very negative, which I don't know why, because I think Checker is a very, very good coach. I rate him highly. It's just whether you feel that he's the right guy to lead a long-term project. Or maybe they're not looking at this long-term. Maybe they're looking at this as just get him in for the World Cup, takes him to 2027, and then that's when Easterby becomes available, because obviously Andy Farrell will be moving on because that's the end of his contract after the World Cup with Ireland. So, Harley, how do you feel about Checker being the front runner?
I mean, one thing you can say about Michael Checker is he's effective for a year or two. So actually, if the plan is just to get him through to the World Cup, or even if, because obviously Franco Smith has another year on his deal, it's just 1 year to get him through that. But then I'd say, why not just carry on with sort of what we've done now and just have the regional coaches step up for a bit and chuck them down if we're going to have that lack of continuity. I mean, if it is part of the WRU and they've gone for a plan and say they've, like we discussed last week, copying the Italy model of where they get particular coaches in to focus on a certain thing and then build and build and build, then fine. I mean, it's a bit of the same school as Gatland, so I thought we were trying to get away from that, but I said I nail Michael as the master who I'd rather, but
yeah,
I think I did as well last week. I just think we've had enough of the Gatland, Eddie Jones, Michael Checker type of character. Salty is, I think, the term you used earlier, Jamie. That's the type of people they are. I think we need somebody who's a bit more modern in their viewpoints and how dealing with people. We've seen, having that type of person over the last couple of weeks, how the players have reacted to that, and I'm not, his coaching credentials are strong, but I just think as a person, I'm not sure. I think it'd be a backward step.
Interesting, because if the plan is, as I said, if they just want to get Checker in for the World Cup, and then 2027, if they want Easterby, then that's actually a perfect plan because it's short term. Like I said, if you're getting Checker in for 4-5 year rebuilding project, it's not going to work because his track record doesn't show that. It just doesn't. But it all depends. But the one thing I will say, and I expressed this on the pod last week, we should be getting a director of rugby to make this appointment, because we're not learning the lessons if we just, who's going to make this appointment if we don't appoint a director of rugby? That's my concern. So we really need to get a director of rugby. One comment that I want to read out to you, Ali, because we had this on our X account. Somebody replied, "Is Matt Sherratt not showing the way forward for Wales?" And he put, "I know he says he doesn't want the job, but I think he'll change his mind." Do you reckon he'll change his mind?
I'm not so sure, because I think Jockey's really committed to the Cardiff project and trying to get, he's sort of got a plan in place of how he wants the team to develop. He's signed a long-term contract. He's signed long-term contracts for all his coaching staff, which says to me that, he's committed to the job. But international jobs, particularly tier 1 international jobs, don't come around too often.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll be honest, if I was going to see Matt Sherratt long term for Wales, I could imagine him being more the attack coach first as opposed to the head coach for Wales.
Yeah, that's a good shout. And he's not going to come out to this stage and go, "Yeah, actually, I quite fancy the job," because he's literally he hasn't just signed a new contract with Cardiff, but the news has been recent. So he has to tread very carefully. But I don't know if he wins the game, and there's going to be a lot of clamour. I mean, Steve James from the Sunday Times wrote, "Give the job to Sherratt," after just one game, which, could be jumping the gun. But I think a lot of people know.
Stephen Jones, as in the Stephen Jones who's calling for Sir Clive Woodward to come in.
No, this is Steve James, not Stephen Jones.
Okay, I was going to say, just
writers,
they are two different ones. Okay,
absolutely,
just clarified.
Yes.
He's the ex-cricketer, isn't he?
He is, yeah, that's right. Played for Glamorgan. He used to write for the South Wales Argus, but now he's writing for the Sunday Times. But there is a clamour already. A lot of people are on the Sherratt bandwagon. So I don't know. He could be tempted. I'm not sure, but he can't really come out to this stage, can he, and say, "Yeah, I quite fancy the job. We'll see how it goes," because he has to say he's committed to Cardiff, because he is committed to Cardiff at this stage. So, yeah, we'll see how that one goes. But I thought it was quite interesting, the Checker news. One to keep an eye on, but like I said, let's just get a director of rugby in first before we start making any appointments. Otherwise,
closing date was today.
Oh, it was that?
Yeah, closing date was today. Which the adverts, I only saw the advert last week, and they alerted me to the advert. But I just hope there is a proper process and it's not just given to Hugh Bevan. I don't know anything about Hugh Bevan, I'll be honest with you much. But I just hope it's not, let's get an advert out so we're ticking a box, but we're going to give it to Hugh Bevan anyway.
Yeah, two names I've seen bandied around: Hugh Bevan and Jamie Roberts as well.
Yeah,
those are the two names that
I can give my thoughts on those two. Hugh Bevan at least shows some sort of record for as a high performance director.
Yeah,
I think Jamie Roberts to me is a jack of all trades, master of none. He's stuck his fingers in so many pies and hasn't stuck with anything. I'd be very hesitant to have him as in charge, having no senior coaching experience whatsoever or any sort of proper thing. Also, apparently, he makes a crap cup of tea, according to the nurses from Landoc ICU.
He's going to be announced by the WRU next week. Now you watch. You've been slagging about seeing his credentials. Watch the WRU.
Jamie Roberts and Mark Checker in the same.
Michael Checker.
The same announcements.
Yeah, and watch his first press conference be him making a cup of tea to really show me. Like, see your scrote.
Okay. We had Celtic Challenge Rugby on the weekend. Ali, do you want to give us a rundown of the results?
Yeah, I mean, well, I'll give the two Wales game results. So I'm going to go with the better result first. So Gwalia went up to Scotstoun and they beat Glasgow Warriors 31-19. That puts them third in the table, 4 points behind the Wolfhounds in first and 2 points behind the Clovers in second on 32 points. Although those are our last two games. So put there. Brython, unfortunately, their run of terrible results carries on again. So that was 96 points they conceded to 7 because that's when my phone crashed and turned the scores off. But and what we should say is for that Clover scored 16 tries, including a penalty try, and they missed 9 out of the 15 conversions they had to take. So that just shows you how bad it could have been if they had goal kicking boots on. Now it's really not been a good season for Brython. I think they're really struggling, especially in the pack waves. Gwalia's had a couple of very good leadership. Yes, they're Wales internationals, but they're just starting out. But Brython really haven't had that, and it shows. So that's why they're sort of rooted at the bottom, just below Glasgow.
And is it just a straight league, Harley? Is
Yeah,
it two
so
games left for everybody?
as far as I'm aware, there's no playoffs or anything. It's just a 10-round league. Everyone plays everyone home and away. And yeah, and Brithon have the. I have to double check what Brithon's last 2 games are. I believe one of them's against Glasgow. But I said the Gwalior are playing both the Irish sides at home. They're their last 2. So
Okay.
get yourself down to Ystrad if you want to watch and support the girls.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, thank you for that. That's news desk. That's all done. Before we talk about what happened on Saturday, I really want to talk about what happened on Friday night, because what a game. What a game. Wales under-20s faced Ireland at Rodney Parade. And like I said, it was a hell of a game. Wales stunned Ireland 2012 in, quite frankly, wretched conditions. A proper backs-to-the-wall defensive display that saw Wales put in 228 tackles. It was Wales under-20s first win against Ireland in the Six Nations since 2017. Super win. Great result. Now, Nick, you was there. You was at Rodney Parade to witness the famous victory. Tell us all about it.
I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was a great atmosphere there. Obviously, a lot of Irish people there as well. Fully expecting a fairly comfortable win, and they didn't get it. We just played out of our skin. We played the conditions very well. Forwards went well. We've got a little bit of class in the backs as well. Even in the poor conditions, the scrum went very well. We've got some, and obviously Sam Scott was well deserving of his man of the match performance. He's a Ronda boy, but he's playing out in Bristol, isn't he?
Yes,
But a really, really promising. The second rows went well. A lad from North Wales, Tom Coffell, I think he's signed for Cardiff Academy. He went well. Our lad, Jermaine, went well. Dan Jermaine. But as I say, is what they just really put their backs to it. You could see that little class that Tom Bowen has got. It wasn't the type of night where wingers were going to get much space. But you can see how dangerous he is when he has that little bit of space. Stefan Emmanuel looked good as well in the centre. And Harry Ford comes in and just slots the kicks at the end. But both tens played well. Yeah, both the tens played well. Minto again was good. It was just an all-round really good performance. And by the end, the crowd were it was amazing. Wasn't a huge crowd, but everybody was so delighted the way they'd played and the performance that it was a great occasion, and it was a great night and a great win.
Ali, what were your thoughts on it? Because this was a game where, we can single out players. Yes, Harry Beddle was amazing. Sam Scott deserved player of the match. Harry Thomas, Evan Minto got through a lot of work. But this was a game where every player really stood up, didn't they?
Yeah, absolutely 100%. Lots of players answer a lot of questions that we've had about Wales under-20 teams. Again, Tom Bowen, a lot of people are saying, well, he's a bit small. Is he going to be okay in the air? Thought he ruled the skies, to be honest. What we should point out for those who aren't aware is Sam Scott is the tight head prop. So the tight head prop got man of the match, played nearly the whole game as well. That is, this is a weekend. This was a weekend for Welsh tight heads. I'm just going to sort of prelude some of my rambles for the senior game as well. Yeah, it was just excellent. That there was a never say die attitude. I'll be honest, I got a little bit annoyed with Richie Reese pointing out that normally we only expect 120 tackles for an under-20s game. It's like, is that based on any facts? Is that the same nonsense random number generator as the 10 penalties thing? But yeah, it was just an excellent performance. I would say though, the Irish 9, he was not having a good game. I think that did help us as well because he looked I don't know who was wearing the number 5 jersey for Wales, but don't know if you remember, Nick.
I can't remember. There was what's his name? Kenzie, isn't it? I think it was Cottle. Maybe was 5.
I think it was his first two. It was the first two, the 9's first 2 attempts at box kicks.
Yeah,
and he just absolutely clattered him. And after that, then he just did not want to kick. He was going straight to 10 and giving him hospital passes left, right, and centre. I just went, that is exactly what I want from a tight head lock. Yeah, is to just absolutely freak the hell out of the opposition halfbacks.
Yeah,
because as soon as you've done that, you've taken away one weapon.
Yeah.
And it was just so good, and it was just never say die. And even towards the end, when I thought Ireland were going to come back into it, never went. I mean, we're going to talk yet again about salty fans. A lot of Ireland players saying, "Oh, well, we were missing this player, that player, that player." I went, well, yeah. I mean, I'm sure Wales have been missing a key under-20 players in the past. We've never been allowed to use that as an excuse for losing. So don't take away from our win for that. But yeah, it was excellent. I think one thing it does show is, given how many of those players play SRC rugby, then it's already working.
Yeah,
for me. And you do have players like Tom Bowen who has stepped up to seniors, and Dan Germain's had a bit of game time. But it's nice to see that that's working, because that's exactly what we wanted it for, is for developing these players and to make them competitive against other teams. Because even against France, they were competitive for large parts of that game. And this is the first time, but they've had back-to-back wins in 5 years, I believe.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I can't fault what's going on with Wiffin's boys.
No, absolutely. It was a brilliant game. I loved it. And it's a middle finger up to those people who say we haven't got enough talent in Wales, or there's not enough young talent coming through the system. Nah, not true. Just not true.
At all.
Not true. I loved it, even though it was a horrible night. I was going to go, but I was trying to shake off a cold. I would have loved to have been there, but the weather was absolutely atrocious, wasn't it? So I thought I can't risk it. But I'm glad I stayed home.
Driving home in it.
Yeah, I was happy to stay home with a cup of tea, watch it on the telly, to be honest. But I absolutely loved it. Fair play to the boys. Just backs against the wall, Fort Knox defence. Every single one of them deserve credit. Just absolutely. A brilliant night. Brilliant night. So that was Friday night. Let's move on to Saturday then, Saturday afternoon. So we were hoping for a new manager bounce, and boy, did we get one. At half-time, it was 13-10 to Wales. And I don't know about you boys, but I could barely believe what I was seeing. Even Will Griff-John looked like a world-class scrummager. It was insane what we were seeing. And moving into the final quarter, it was still very much game on. It was 18-all. But of course, Ireland's class eventually told, and they ended up winning 27-18. So just for context then, Matt Sherrod had less than a week with Wales, and he took charge of 4 training sessions. And yet Wales looked so much better than they did for the last year under Warren Gatland, which I think is a pretty damning indictment of what Gatland and Howley have been doing, if I'm being brutally honest. And to those people, and they know who they are, Stephen Jones in the Times, Gav Davis in the Daily Telegraph, and the Gatland apologists who told us no one else can do better than Gatland. No one else is going to get a tune out to these players. Only Gatland can. Nah, you're looking very, very silly, lads. Very silly. So, I don't know about you. I'm positive. After that now, I feel like there's some hope. I feel like there's some pride in Welsh rugby. I know one swallow doesn't make a summer, but Harley, this was much, much better, wasn't it?
Absolutely 100%. And if you look at all the stats, like even the stats and things make up for it, like we had much faster. But I mean, this is what I was saying I was hoping for is Wales, not only did we score a couple of tries, but you could see we probably left 3 or 4 out there where the last pass didn't quite go to hand, or it was a bit rushed. Pillay is not quite in position, which is what I expected to happen. Is we might get a few nice phases, but players aren't quite snapping. The fact that it worked as well as it did surprised me, and pleasantly so. I would like to make a formal apology to Will Griff-John.
Yes, we all need to do that.
You are worth a pro contract. In fact, if you sign for Cardiff tomorrow, I will get a T-shirt with your face in it for the cap next season, because wow, what I mean, not just his scrummaging, but his work around the loose as well, which is something I've because I rinsed him for before, was saying, oh, he's a terrible scrummager and he's terrible around the park. What a joke! And no, he really showed it. So I don't know if that's Adam Jones or Jockey or combination, but he looked great. Nicky Smith had a great game. Will Rowlands looked the best I've seen. I mean, I still think I'd have rather Teddy, but Will Rowlands looked a lot better than he's played since since the World Cup, I'd say. I don't know if anyone else agrees.
Best game in the Wales shirt for 18 months, I would say.
Yeah, easily. So that seems to have poked him up. He somehow managed to make Reflin Morgan work, which is something I didn't think was going to happen. Yeah, I know. Who knew? Ben Thomas, great at 12. Also seems to be attracting rogue shoulders and heads from opposition players.
Weird.
He's the new Wyn Jones. But yeah, I just thought, and that inexperienced Scarlet's back 3 caused Ireland no end of problems. All right, they may have won the kicking battle overall, but when we did win the ball with those three, they tore them up, and that's after 4 training sessions. Imagine what these next 2 weeks are going to do.
Exactly, and that's a point that a lot of people are making. Will Griff John, yes, I will also put my hands up. Although, to be fair, and let's be honest about this, we did have good reason to doubt him, didn't we? Because he was awful for the Scarlets, let's be honest. He was pretty hopeless for them. That 3rd game in 2 years starting, and he was excellent. He was excellent. He scrummaged Port off the park. He was hitting rucks, winning turnovers. It was incredible performance. Nicky Smith as well. You are quite right. He took Thomas Clarkson to the cleaners, didn't he? Big time. And I've always been a big fan of Nicky Smith.
Poor thing for a young tight head, but I mean, yes. it did. There was a noticeable difference when Gareth Thomas came on.
We'll talk about that in a bit. Yes. I just want to give a shout out to Ellis Mee. I know we'll talk about this a bit later, but what a performance. I was so impressed with Ellis Mee, because when he was named in the squad, I did look at him and think, oh, he's going to be in for a really tough time. This could not go well for him. That was probably the best Wales debut I've seen since Ting Basham's debut against the All Blacks in 2021. It was outstanding. Absolutely outstanding. The Scarlets back three, Murray, Rogers and Mee were excellent. And you've got to give credit to the Scarlets here for identifying players like Mee and, Murray as well. You got to give him credit for that. Yeah, it was just terrific. Those were the players that really stood out for me. What about you then, Nick? What was your take on the game and the players that stood out for you?
Well, I thought the whole pack went well. We certainly looked as if we could mix it with a team like Ireland, and even with some changes, there was still a lot of experience in the Ireland pack. I thought Talupe just showed his absolute class. What I know it's a cliche, but class is
and yet
permanent,
still people
isn't it?
doubt him, didn't they? Anytime he's in the Wales squad, people say, "Oh, he's a bit old now," and all this.
No.
It's like he's still world class. He keeps showing it time and time again. Why do people still doubt him? Madness.
I know. He's in my book, he's the best number 8 we've ever had, and he can still do a job.
Yeah.
I thought Thomas Williams and Gareth Anscombe gave us direction, which allowed the back three to shine as well. I think they need some credit, but there's no shock there, is there? They're experienced players, and I think the biggest shock, as we've said all along, is why they haven't been in situ over the first 2 games. Again, you'd have to question, why has Nicky Smith had so little time as a starting prop over the last 18 months as well? Because yes, he's gone to Leicester. Yes, he's doing well in the English Premiership, but you have to go, you can't convince me he's a much better player than he was last season when he was doing exactly the same in the URC for the Ospreys. But overall, it was fantastic. I made a last-minute decision to go to this game. I was always going to the under-20s game. Decided to stay over for next night, and we went on Saturday. And it's the first Welsh game that I've been to since the World Cup, which I really enjoyed. I think the last game was, as I say, Australia certainly in the World Cup, but I really enjoyed it. The atmosphere built as the game went on, and it was like the old days. It was class.
Yeah, absolutely. Harley, some controversy. Ringrose getting sent off. Some people say it should be a straight red. It was a 20-minute red card, upgraded from yellow. What did you make of that decision?
Well, I mean, to be honest, the 20-minute red card should be in the bin anyway, but, apparently we've got to appease the Rugby Australia and New Zealand Rugby. I mean, it was a red. It was just, I wouldn't, you can go with all the cliches about dirty players and whatever, but it doesn't matter. It's not, the whole rules aren't supposed to be about, their intent of the outcome. They can't seem to make their mind up. You have deliberate actions, and then you have others where it supposedly doesn't matter. Like, is a player deliberately offside? Well, there shouldn't be a penalty. They're just accidentally offside.
Yeah, no, it's a fair point.
If players stood next to the ruck and the ruck shifts, that's not their fault. But it was a red. I mean, he had so much time to see, and it was unnecessary because it was one of the many points where we were going nowhere because things sort of the shape broke down a little bit. I think it was maybe really didn't need.
No, it's fair enough. And they allowed Bundyaki to come off the bench. As soon as he came off the bench, I thought, uh-oh, we're going to be in trouble. And I knew it. I knew he'd turn that game around. He's just an incredible player, isn't he? Yeah, so it's a big talking point, but you got to take your hat off to Bundyaki. He's terrific. I had a very bad feeling when he came off the bench because I thought we could be in trouble here. Here's a stat from Opta Johnny then. Talking about the attack earlier, and in particular Blair Murray. So Wales beat 33 defenders against Ireland. That's the most ever in a men's Six Nations match. Right? Blair Murray beat 11. The most by a Wales player in a single game, beating Scott Quinnell's tally of 10 versus Italy in 2000. It's amazing what a good attack coach can do, isn't it?
No, it's amazing what a coach who sort of picks a game plan that suits the players and not their own game plan and tries to put square pegs in round holes. I love Mason Grady to 12.
Yeah, exactly. The longer the game wore on, though, I don't know about you, even though we were right in it, I still didn't feel like we were going to come away with a win. The replacement props. It pains me to say this because I'm a big fan of Gareth Thomas. I really don't say this lightly, but I thought he had a pretty poor game off the bench. In fact, I'd say it's his worst.
I agree.
After that knee thing he picked up against Italy.
Maybe, but that was his worst performance in the Wales jersey, I think. And like I said, I take no pleasure in saying that. Henry Thomas, he wasn't great when he came off the bench either. There was that headshot that was checked. I think they said it was chest going into head, didn't they? But you know, some Irish fans are saying that should have been a sending off. But that's when we struggled. But I mean, that try, well, the non-try, but Ellis me. I just think if we had scored that, that could have changed things. Right at that particular time, I just felt that if we didn't score then, that would be it. And as soon as that try was chalked off, I thought this is going to swing one way now.
I do think though we were a bit of a victim of something that we've accused Jockey of on the Cardiff pod though, is that I think sometimes he's a bit hesitant to change players, even when if players are going well, he's a bit hesitant to change them, even if maybe it's not necessarily that they're going down, it's just that the thing Razzi's praised for is he doesn't take a player off when they're gassed. He takes them off as soon as they drop below 90%, so that he can bring some fresh legs. And I feel like, players like Teddy and Evan, all right, you may lose a little bit of weight with Teddy for Rowlands, but not actually not a lot. He's really bold. And I know with Elliot, you're losing your lineouts, but actually Evan Lloyd's lineout throwing hasn't been bad this tournament. And you're just giving some extra impetus, whether that's in attack or defence. And I think you could see we were a bit gassed. The other thing as well is I think Jared's probably not the guy we needed against Ireland that day. I think
I thought he did okay off the bench.
Even though he's more,
I thought he did okay.
I thought he did okay, but I think the problem is your shape goes and your decision of when to kick goes, and a couple of those late turnovers are from Wales playing a little bit too much, whereas Anscombe probably would have called the kick a bit sooner, or Dan Edwards would have called the kick. Where Dan Edwards, although he's a very inexperienced player, I do think he has got that from playing at the Ospreys and basically from learning to be a kick-heavy 10 first, and then learn sort of how to play a bit more with the shackles off with Mark Jones. I think he has that little bit of nous a bit more, which is something, again, something we know with Jared. You're going to risk your kicking game by having him played. But I said, individually, he was great. I just don't think he was necessarily the player we needed when he came on.
You could see that experience, couldn't you? Because they went away from the lovely shapes and so on and played a very kick-heavy second half, and it paid dividends. It allowed them to play in the right parts of the field, and then with the pressure, they were able to build some penalty opportunities. And who'd have thought Ireland would be taking kicks for the post rather than the corner to make sure they won the game.
That's a huge win in itself.
Yeah. But I agree. I thought particularly I like Thomas Williams a lot, but I thought his legs had gone the last 10 minutes, and I didn't understand why, because he wasn't getting to the rucks. There was one where they counter rucked as they do when it's a bit wider. They always attack the outside ruck, don't they? But a lot of that was down to the scrum half not being there. And I think if Rodri Williams had been there at that point, we'd have got the ball away. And I think they even got a penalty from him as well, which is one of the 3 points.
Again, this is where one of the things I've seen at Cardiff is Jockey doesn't always trust his bench to make the same difference sometimes. But I think what I would like to say is we're talking about points like this as negatives.
Yeah.
When, let's be fair, we were expecting a 40, 50 point drubbing.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
you know, the fact that we feel confident enough to nitpick about the fact we felt we could have won that game, even as unlikely as it was, I think that just shows how much of a turnaround this Welsh team has had in a week, well, 2 weeks.
And as I say, we're trying to be constructive, and that these are the type of things we've got to improve on if we are to win, one or hopefully both the next 2 games.
It's a fair point. It's a fair point because I thought Thomas Williams was good until he started making errors and he started getting tired. Roger Williams didn't come on, which did surprise me. He was the only replacement that wasn't used. But
again, it was quite common for Jockey last season as well when Thomas was still there.
Yeah.
Or the year before.
No, that's fair enough. But I don't want to be too nitpicky about it. You know, some players were excellent, some maybe not so much. Some Ireland's bench made the difference for them, I think. And I think ours didn't really make the difference. I think that was the biggest difference between the 2 teams. I think Ireland's bench really did make an impact.
Well, I think it was a couple of key players that they brought on made those differences, like the likes of having Ryan Baird, who's just a big old bastard, and James Ryan and his experience.
Aki, of course. You know.
Aki, obviously. Because I don't think Jack Crowley came on either. Jack Crowley was unused. Their replacement hooker didn't come on until about the same time as Evan Lloyd, because they kept Sheehan on, who again was excellent. Porter again did his usual 70-odd minutes, but I think he was always going to be in for a longer shift if things weren't going their way.
Do you want some good news? Bundy Aki is almost 35, so unless he does a Ray Lilo, you're probably only going to have to face him one more time in Cardiff.
He could probably go on for the same amount of time as Ray Lilo and still be world class. Honestly,
it's going to be one of those things where he's just going to be full on winter soldiered, and he's just going to be broken out just for the Six Nations and World Cups.
I got a lot of respect for Bundy Aki. He's an absolute warrior. Very good play. Like I said, as soon as I saw him coming, I thought, we're in trouble here. So
one of the best players the Connacht Academy's ever produced.
Exactly. Yes. Absolutely. So Ireland won the game, and they've won the Triple Crown. So congratulations, Ireland. However, performance-wise, I don't think we could have asked much more from Wales, could we? No, Everything was so much better. Attack, set piece, defence, physicality, game management. All we needed was green shoots of hope, and I think we got that on Saturday. And as encouraging as the Ireland game was, we need to now back it up against Scotland and Murrayfield. Because one swallow doesn't make a summer, we've got to back this up. But all of a sudden, like I remember we was talking about this on the Rat Pod, that we can't see us winning any games. I don't know. Now, maybe it's the hope that kills you. That Scotland game now, that doesn't feel as daunting as it might have been a couple of weeks ago. I'm feeling a lot more hopeful. Have any of you two feel like we can now nick a game after seeing such a positive performance against Ireland?
After watching the Calcutta Cup, yes. But then, we've got 2 weeks to plan our trip up to Murrayfield, then so to Scotland. And the question is are they going to have a hangover of losing to both England and Ireland again? And can we take advantage of that? Is there enough weak points? Like, I can imagine us being able to get, very similar to how Tom Rogers was able to get around James Lowe a lot. I imagine he'd be able to get around Doohan fairly well. But I don't think, we're not going to be able to we're not going to be able to cause the 10 to have a wobble. We're not going to cause Finn Russell to have a wobble, like in the same way we managed to get under Prendergast's skin. And I don't think we're going to have anywhere near the dominance in the scrum. Well, we might, but I doubt it. I'd say Xander Ferguson is a much more seasoned campaigner.
I don't know. Wilfred John now and Nicky Smith.
Lions.
Yeah,
I've got the hope. I've got the hope.
That's what I'll you.
So I could. So Hugh, talking with Hugh, and he had a strong opinion of whichever team won the Calcutta Cup, he reckoned Wales would beat. We'd beat the winner, but lose the loser. So it could be interesting. And it depends. As I said, because that last game against England, I think it's going to be interesting as well. Because if England have got something to play for, then it might be a hard task. But if they've got nothing to play for, then we might just catch them apathetic. Yeah. And I do feel like, they've had the rub of the green for 2 games, and maybe it's time for someone to burst the bubble.
They definitely have. And Scotland, they've got themselves to blame. They butchered so many opportunities. They've only got them. So, mind you, they were shafted by a few interesting officiating decisions, I would say. How that Marotoa turnover was deemed legal, I'll never know. Absolutely
Oh,
ridiculous.
don't you know he was tipped out of the ruck? That's why.
Yeah, right. What about you, Nick?
So
How
now,
do you
I
feel
mean,
now about... Sorry, go on.
before we go on to about dodgy breakdowns, that Ty Burn one where he basically goes round the side, picks it up, gets told no, and then somehow wins the penalty.
Master of the dark arts, and I know. Nick, so how do you feel about Scotland away now? Do you feel
Well, I think
more confident?
I'm more confident, but it's a different game, isn't it? Because there's a little bit of expectation on us now. So how we will cope with that, I don't think anybody's necessarily expecting us to go up there and win, but certainly there's an expectation there, and we give a good account of ourselves. I think that we can do it, and we should be going up there and giving them a very good go. What we want is go into games where there's jeopardy, where we think, well, actually, we could win. We might lose, but we could win. And that's definitely the way I'm going to go into the next two games.
Yeah. Okay. Good stuff. So we're all feeling hopeful and positive. It's amazing what difference a week makes, isn't it? You know, you go
Yeah.
back last week, we were all
Yeah.
doom and gloom, and now I just think it shows what a brilliant job. Not just Sherritt, mind, he is getting a lot of praise, rightly so, but Adam Jones as well have had
Yeah.
a massive impact for me. Our scrum looks really, really good.
Can I just sorry?
Go on. No, go on.
I was just going to say one person that perhaps has been sort of maybe slagged off a little bit by association is Mike Forshaw. Actually, our defence hasn't been that bad under the Australia game, or since he's been we didn't concede that many tries last year. We had an awful day against Australia where we decided not to stop tackling. But certainly even in the first two games, and showing what France can do when they break the shackles off, and what they did to Italy yesterday. I think our defence has been, on the whole, pretty good. So, and I guess he's fighting for his future because my understanding is he's in contract until the summer. But I think our defence, on the whole, has been okay.
Yeah,
I mean, that's one thing I've said we can't really criticise, because even in that France game, if you look, the defensive shape and everything held up really well. It was just that, after being battered by a load of big men, we left a gap out wide, and we just hope that you're just hoping that the execution of a very difficult skill isn't done, and then Dupont does it because it's Dupont.
Yeah.
You had the pick of a long pass or a cross-field kick, and we got shafted there, and a few other bits. But I said, I mean, our tackle success is pretty good. I think it was 91% up against Ireland, and we're second overall in the Six Nations, just behind Scotland, and it's only like a few tackles in it.
Yeah, we should bear in mind though and remember that it is 15 defeats in a row. There's no getting away from that, and it's 9 successive Six Nations defeats in a row. Sam Warburton said that Saturday felt like a win. I'm not sure I'd go that far, but it felt better. It felt so much better. I actually felt so much positivity that I've felt for a long time. And like I said, I think a lot of that goes down to Sheridan, the coaches and the players for making us believe again. But like I said, let's hope it's not a one-off. Before we move on, here's Lee's thoughts on Wales against Ireland.
Hey everyone, sorry I can't be with you this week, but I know the guys doing a cracking job of keeping you entertained. So my thoughts on the Welsh game, first and foremost, it's not actually on the game. The thing that I think we achieved on the weekend was that we regained the pride in the game. We rediscovered our love for the game. I said on last week's pod about Robin McBride and his comments about the Wales losing its soul with regard to rugby, and I think we started to rediscover a little bit on Saturday. I thought the anthem was absolutely outstanding. The noise through the game was superb, and I haven't seen any comments on socials about irritating stuff that happens in the game. It was very much game focused. So fair play to Jockey. He's come in at a really tough time, and he's not got a massive profile outside of Wales. He's not got a huge profile inside of Wales, but he's really got the public behind him. in what he's trying to do, and for that, the guy deserves a massive round of applause, because I thought the way it's been handled has been absolutely superb. The boys on the pitch on Saturday, we were literally within a couple of inches of that being a win. There was a drop pass in the first half. It was a try that was a couple of inches short in the second half that could have won us that game. And fair play to come from where we were after Italy to that has just been superb. So a couple of shout outs for me. The back three I thought were outstanding. Blair Murray continues to impress at fullback. I think Scarlett's going to have to play him there now to give him a fair run at it. Tom Rogers, just continues to improve and improve and improve. And fair play to him. He came in for a fair bit of stick last season, and he's absolutely delivered this year. So top notch with him. And Ellis Mee, what a debut! He's a young kid. He's still got a lot of development to do. But if that's his starting point, wow! And Josh Adams has got a real task on his hand to get back into the side now. So other big shout outs go to Wilgriff John. Again, he's come in for a lot of stick over the last couple of seasons, particularly with that tash and that haircut. So, brave to just walk on the pitch looking like that. But wow, what a game. I think that's the best I've seen him play, pretty much ever. That was his best game. And fair play to him to stick at it, not just in scrums, but round the park. He was tackling, he was passing, he was running with the ball, he was committing players, just absolutely off the park. And then my last big shout out goes to young Mr. Thomas at 12, who would have been really easy after that Italy game to just go, look, sit me out on this one, I've had enough. But he didn't. He stood up, and he absolutely had a go at it. And fair play to the guy. He had a decent game. So there was a lot of positives that came out of that. I think there's still more to come. I think we still need to start committing defenders when we run at them. I think there's a lot of work that can be done in managing the defence, particularly in tight. I think we gave Ireland too many opportunities with big runners running at small boys and things like that. So there's things that can be improved, but to come from where we were against Italy to that, massive hats off to every single one of them and every single person that was in this stadium. So yeah, back to you, Jamie.
Okay, thank you, Lee. Don't forget that we are available on all the major podcast providers as well as the Wrap YouTube channel. So if you haven't done so already, please like, subscribe, and leave a kind review, as it massively helps the pod. Okay, so URC, it's back this week at round 12, and it opens up with Zebra versus Dragons. What a time to be alive, eh? What a great opening to this weekend. Friday, 7:35, BBC Two Wales and Premier Sports. So I'll just try and cut this down to about 3 minutes. If I can get it under 3 minutes, I probably will. A couple of weeks ago, this game was being billed as a wooden spoon decider. I don't think that's the case anymore. I think Dragons will finish bottom of the league. The gap between Dragons and Zebra now is too big, and I just don't see Dragons winning many, if any, games now this season. I spoke about Zebra last week on the pod. You got to take your hats off to them. They're having a fantastic season, made even more impressive by the fact that they don't know what their future is. There's a lot of uncertainty. I think that's probably what's galvanized them a lot, actually. And for context, Zebra have now the same amount of wins in the URC as Ospreys, Stormers, Edinburgh, Connacht, and Ulster. So fair play to them. They are having a very, very good season. And this game on Friday night, that'll be their cup final. Because if they beat Dragons, that'll be 3 wins in a row for them. I mean, when was the last time that happened for Zebra? Has it ever happened?
I don't think it has. I think 2 is their best, and it was the first time for 2 in a row in forever. It's their first league away win for 6 years or something stupid like that.
Yeah. I don't think it's ever happened.
Huge game for them.
Massive. And it'll be their cup final, and they'll be licking their lips at the prospect of Dragons coming to town. As for the Dragons, well, they've already got one eye on next season. They're planning for that. they've been hammered by injuries. I'm not making excuses here, but the injury list has been pretty significant for the Dragons. And when you've got a paper thin squad like they've got, it's going to have a big impact. So until they start getting some bodies back, then I just don't see them being competitive enough to win games. They just need better luck on the injury front. But yeah, it's going to be a tough one for the Dragons. I know we'll do our predictions later, but I would be very surprised if Dragons come away with a win, because I think this game will come down to who wants it the most. And I think Zebra will really, really want to win this game. 3 wins in a row, climb further up that table. Big motivation from. They always circle Dragons in the calendar because they know that the bottom 2 teams in the league, they've got a really good chance of beating us. And I don't think Dragons have won out in Zebra since 2019 as well. So everything is against them, really, injuries and history. So yeah, so come on to predictions later, but I think that's going to be a tough evening for the Dragons. But great success story for Zebra. It's good for the URC that Zebra are doing well. It's not good for the Dragons, obviously, but it is good for the league to see them doing well. So that's Friday night. Then on Saturday afternoon, it's Leinster versus Cardiff. Saturday, 3 p.m. This game is live on S4C and Premier Sports. Harley, how many Cardiff players do you think Wales are going to release from the camp for this one for you? Zero,
absolutely none, because they didn't release any last time. I was hoping that part of the reason why Teddy wasn't starting and was on the bench was because Jockey was like, right, I'm going to give all my Cardiff players as many Cardiff players as possible the afternoon off, so that you can go for Leinster. But I don't see that happening. It'll be it's just going to be pain. That's all I can say. Is it'll just be pain. I imagine there'll be some Leinster players released from the Ireland camp now who will have a point to prove. And yeah, I think we might have 1 or 2 players back, but we're still going to be up against it. So it's not going to be pretty. There's not a lot I can say about it. It's Leinster at the probably the RDS, if not the Aviva, because I think the RDS is closed at the moment for
it'll be the Aviva, I think.
Yeah, so it's just going to be. Well, we're not doing very well away from home this season, and I think as much as I'd love there to be a repeat of the Leinster game a few years ago at Cap, where we snuck it on the last minute penalty from Jared Evans, I can see it getting quite messy. Even if my score prediction is not going to reflect that, because I'm optimistic that we might get something out of that game.
Okay, is that it?
I'm predicting I'm predicting Leinster by 12, but we're going to get 4 tries, which would be impressive, because I think only 2 teams. Only 2 teams have conceded managed to score more than 3 tries past Leinster this season.
Yeah, it's a tough ask. Now we will go through our predictions at the end, but anything else from you on this game?
I said it'd be nice to see a few players. So I'd like to see Callum Brady again. I thought he was excellent last time. Along with Joe Mulder. It's nice that we've got 2 good scrum halves starting. It'd be interesting to see how long Rayleigh Lowe and Josh McInally go, because I think as soon as they tire, that's when Cardiff that's when they they lose their leader in the pack and their leader in the backs. Soon to be Dragons Thomas Young and Seb Davis. See how they go. Give them as many last hurrahs as possible.
Okay. All done?
Yeah.
Excellent. 34 seconds left. Good timing. And then up next is... What is up next? It's Ulster Scarlets. So this is on Saturday, 5:15, live on S4C. BBC Sport Northern Ireland are showing this game as well, and Premier Sports will be showing it, of course. So I'm going to let Lee preview this one. Let's go to Lee for his thoughts on this game.
Okay, so my thoughts on the Scarlets and Ulster. I think this is a massive opportunity for Scarlets this weekend. Ulster having a nightmare season. Nothing's going right for them. Injuries and games and what have you. So, this is a big opportunity. We have to come away with 5 points. No ifs, no buts. If we're going to do anything in the top half of the table at the end of the season, this is the game that we need to take all points from, bonus points, and the side is there. We haven't suffered massively in terms of people being taken for internationals. So it's time to turn it up and go. We didn't turn up against Munster. We gave Munster too much respect and we weren't battling enough up front. This is the game where we got to do it. So I'm confident that this is going to be a Scarlets win, but the boys have got to turn up and do it because there's only so much positivity you can have, running people close and all of that kind of stuff. We've played some fantastic rugby this season. This is the game where we absolutely have to put 5 points on the board, bring home the bonus points for this one.
Okay, and then it's Glasgow versus Ospreys. Saturday, 7:35, game live on Premier Sports. I don't know if there's a match replay on S4C. There normally is, but I haven't checked. But the game is exclusively live on Premier Sports. So, Nick, 3 minutes for this one. Give us your thoughts on Glasgow Ospreys.
Yeah, very much looking forward to this game again. Hopefully, Owen Williams and Jack Walsh, who went off for HIAs against Leinster. At least that's one good thing about Evan Fallow weeks. So it's given them 2 weeks. Hopefully, they'll both be available. I think if we can get our basics right, pack go well, and I don't see any reason they won't. As long as we've learned a few lessons from the scrum against Leinster. And obviously Glasgow, like Leinster, lose a lot of players to international weekends, and I wouldn't think there'd be many released back to them from the Scottish setup. So yeah, very much looking forward to this game. I really think we can go up there. I know that might sound stupid. Nobody's won there since May 2023, I think, in the league, or many games, even with Europe as well. It's a very, very hard place to go, Scotland. But I really do think we can go up there targeting this game and certainly get something from it. And I'm even, when we come to predictions, going to be not my normal negative self and predict a win for us.
Oh, blimey. Okay. Anything else you want to add for this game?
No, just recognize the challenge, and also as this match is a test for us as a team. If we are going to finish in the top 8, we need to get something out of this game because we've dropped some points early on in the season, and we've got to go to South Africa still. So this is very much should be a targeted game, and we put our very best team available. Hopefully we've got maybe 1 or 2 coming back from injury as well, such as Rhys Davis. Maybe Dewi might get a run out. He's been training with Wales, maybe come off the bench. Sam Parry, I would have hoped would be released because he doesn't seem to be featuring for Wales. So yeah, go up there and give him a good game and come up the right side of the score.
It will be interesting to see how many Wales players, if any, get released from the camp because 13 players are going to be released back to English clubs. So there is a numbers issue there, isn't there? So it will be interesting to see how many, like I said, or if any Wales players will get released. Okay, predictions time. Harley, give us an update on the predictions league and then we'll go through our predictions that we got for this weekend.
Yeah, no worries. Right, so we're currently sat, so the scores on the doors at the moment. Nick, unfortunately, you're in 4th place on 82, but it's not too big a jump to joint 3rd place with me and Lee, both on 84, and then Jamie is running far and away with it on 92.
Lovely stuff. Okay, then let's go through the predictions in chronological order. Shall I go first?
Yeah, go on then, Jamie. Here you go.
Before you go, James, are the Dragons expecting anybody back from long-term injury this weekend?
Oh, do you know what, Nick? Who knows? Because every time I come on here and I say, we should be getting Harry Keddy back, or we should be getting Screech back, or we should be getting Cummins back, they never come back. So I've just given up now. I've given up. I don't know who's coming back from injury, who's available. It'd be nice to see.
That will have a bearing, won't it? If you get those 3 in, it's a different game.
Yes, Dragons have been very light at second row in particular. There's a few areas where we're light, but like I said, injuries just hammered this team. So if we get a few bodies back, like I said, if we got Keddy, Cummins, Screech back, then that'll make a difference. But who knows? Who knows? Okay, so predictions this weekend. I'm going for Zebra by 13. I'm going to go Leinster by 15. I'm going to go for Scarlets away win because I think they can beat us. They're still not having a good season. They've had a lot of injuries. I thought they had
And
a
it's a young
chance.
squad as well.
Exactly. But the thing is, I thought they had a chance against Munster. I thought that was an opportunity and they blew it. They were very poor in that
Very
second
poor.
half. The non-Welsh qualified pack, and you picked up on this, Nick, they didn't turn up. And Lee was saying that these were the games that, you won that pack for, well, they didn't turn up. So I am going to back them this weekend because I do think that Ulster team is very beatable. So I'm going to go Scots by 5. I'm going to go for Glasgow by 2. I think it's going to be really tight. But I think Ospreys will go up there, give a good account themselves. But I'm going to go for Glasgow by a very narrow 2 points. So those are my predictions.
Do you want to go next, Nick?
Okay. Well, I'm taking the half full route, and that Dragons will be able to put out a more experienced pack. And I'm going Dragons by 3, 19-22. Unfortunately, I think Leinster will win quite comfortably. I'm going 36-12 to Leinster, 24 points difference. I think Scarlets will play better this time, and they'll have a kick up the backside. And as Ulster got loads out, so I'm going Scarlets by 2, and I'm going Us by 1, Ospreys by 1.
Cool. And then by the magic of editing, we'll have Lee's predictions now.
So me again then, guys. So my predictions for this weekend, Scarlets by 10, Dragons by 1. Yes, that's right, Jamie, you heard it. Dragons by 1. Leinster by 15. I can't see any other result than that. And I think Glasgow will squeak it by 3. I think it'll be a close game, but Glasgow by 3 seems fairly reasonable to me. I'll be back with you next week, guys. Hope you've had a good one. Ta-da.
Thank you, Lee. As unrealistic as ever. Then finishing up with mine. I actually do know what his predictions are, so I know that for a fact. So I'm going to go Zebra by 3. I think it's going to be a messy game. I just think both sides will be wanting this win desperately, and I think it could be a bit of a dogfight. I'm going to be the most optimistic of all of us, and I'm going to go with Leinster by 12. I've got a funny feeling Ulster are just going to squeak it against Scots by 3, and I'm going to go slightly more with Glasgow. I think they've got a lot of quality still there who aren't there, and they will have players like Johnny Matthews back. He does tend to be released as he has a tune. He doesn't fancy him for anything more than training, so I'm going to go with Glasgow by 5.
Lovely stuff. Okay. I think that's it, isn't it, for this week, gents?
Yeah.
Lovely. Just under an hour, I think, which is nice.
Nice to have a positive pod when we talk about Wales.
Absolutely. Yes. It does feel different, doesn't it, this pod? It's nice to do a positive pod. Because when I record Dragon's Late, obviously I talk about losses pretty much every week. And it can get you down. And then you come on here and you talk about losses every week, and Wales losing as well. So it is nice to have a positive, upbeat pod. How long it'll last for, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know how long it's going to
How was
last.
the vibe compared to a victory pod? A Dragon's victory pod?
Oh, it's very rare. A dragon's victory pod is as rare as hen's teeth, mate. I'm telling you, it's.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying, is the
Yeah.
vibe on a similar level? Is that still right up there?
Oh yeah, it is. I mean, I do enjoy doing the Dragon's Lair pod. Me and Gav have a good laugh, but it's not easy when you're constantly talking about losses every week. But yeah. Okay, so we'll leave it there for this week, gents. Thank you very much for joining me, and thank you for listening. We'll be all back next week. So until then, take care and goodbye.
What's that?